Hello and welcome. My name's Sam and this is the Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for joining me for our final card in this week's stamp set of the week, Humble Home. I'm gone for a funky fold today, and it probably doesn't look like so on the screen, so let's quickly switch cameras and I can show you what I mean. Okay, so it is a normal card that opens like so. However, it has this little surprise to it. So lifts up, and then you lift it up again, and you have the details below. So it is a funky fold in a way. It just has this little mechanism, opening and closing mechanism, to go with the card. So let's dig in straight away, and we can begin and bring in the supplies. Okay, so today's supplies are as follows. We have a normal piece of granny apple green that measures 8 inches by 5 3/4, and I have scored it already at the 4-inch mark, which I thought I had burnished. Got my bone folder. There we go. I then have a piece of designer series paper that you can find in the catalogue from our Christmas catalogue. It is on page 27. It's this one here, and it is called Reindeer Days. And it's got some really pretty paper in it. So this is the part of it. And it measures 3 3/4 by 5 1/2. And then I have a piece of paper, of white cardstock should I say, that measures exactly the same. I have got a piece of I have garden green. Now this is 1 inch by 4 3/4, and I've scored it at the 1 inch mark, so that would be at 3 3/4 otherwise. And then you can just fold it and burnish with your burn folder. Okay, I then also have a piece of, quite a couple of pieces of scrap paper. So I have scrap paper to cut my house out on, I have scrap paper to cut my circles out on, and I have a piece of scrap paper for my sentiment. So let us begin. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we are going to take the 2 3/8 inch punch, and on the front side of the card we're going to push our punch in as far as it goes and work out where you quite fancy your hole to go. So let's say we're going to go for that. Okay, so simply cut it out, keep hold of it, and then you can see you've got your circle there. Okay, so the next thing to do is to take our piece of white cardstock, put it in its position of where you feel it will go. Okay, so that's roughly where we're going to put it. I'm going to take my card over, and with a pencil I'm just going to mark 4 edges. So the 12 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock. And that roughly tells me where the circle will be, so I can take that out. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my designer series paper, and I'm going to put a thin line of glue around the edge, nowhere in the middle, because I don't want the glue to come through this hole. So literally a thin layer, she says. There we go. So a very thin layer, like this. Now this will keep the designer series paper in place. I was going to use the Stampin' Seal, but I found it was too thick, and it did actually come through. Okay, so we've done that, she says, and then I'm going to position this over the top of the hole like so. So now you can see why I didn't want it to go over too much. Then I'm going to turn the card over, and I'm going to bring that 2 3/4 inch punch back through, and I'm going to position it over the hole, and I'm going to cut out the designer series paper now. So there we go. So that's the 2. Again, hold on to it, we don't want to lose it. So that is the front of the card. So the next thing to do now is to take our 1 inch strip with its fold here, and that will go like so on the reverse of the white cardstock and bend over to the end. Now you could leave it straight, or like the one I have done here, I've cut a little triangle out, so that's exactly what I'm going to do on this one. So working out roughly where the middle is, I'm going to go up, and then I'm going to cut from this edge to the middle. And I always find that I think I've worked out where the middle is, and then when I come to cut my piece of corner flag, the middle is never there. It's always off center. Hey ho, seems to be the same on this one. So I'm going to use my stamp and seal, and I'm just going to put the glue on the reverse side of my banner. Okay, I'm then going to work out roughly the center, and that's going to go, just going to double check. So if that is sitting there and that comes over, that will pop through like so, no problems. So I can now stick that down, and I'm happy with that. Okay, so this can now be stuck into our inside of our card. For quickness, I'm going to use the stamp and seal, but obviously you could use multi-purpose if you wished. I'm also going to add the glue onto the backing of the card. Okay, and then we can pop this into position like so. Okay, Mum. There we go. Okay, so that is now in its rightful position. I'm going to take the designer series paper that we cut out, and I'm going to stick that down over the markings. Okay. Again, I'm going to use my stamp and seal. Okay, so that will then go into position like so. All right, there you go. So now we're going to poke the flag pennant through the hole, and we're going to put some glue onto here with the stamp and seal. Now obviously you could use your multi-purpose again if you wish to. So I'm going to pop that down, and what I want to do is make sure that it fits exactly in the hole that it came out of. So that's exactly where it is, and then I'm just going to push quite hard down there. So the next thing to do is to take my 2 1/4 inch punch, and I'm going to cut myself out a circle. Okay, and that will then sit directly over the hole there. Okay, so again I can stick my glue and I'm going to make sure it's as even as it can possibly be. There we are. So the next thing to do is to take my next piece of cardstock, and I'm going to stamp my house. Now I've gone for the all-inclusive house, so this is the one that's got all the pattern on it, and I'm going to stamp that in the early espresso. Like so. Sorry, that was totally off paper, I do apologise. There we go. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour it in with my blend pens. I have 3 blends. So I have the Granny Apple Green in dark, the dark Poppy Parade, but I have the light Crumb Cake. I'm not sure if I'm going to use that yet, so let's take that down. So I'm just going to add a few details to this house. So I'm just going to add the roof, like that, and then a bit on the decoration. Okay, as normal, I have already done the preparation. So here is my house. I did 2 houses. So I've got a plain white house, which can sit on there like that. Or I did it with the crumb cake. I couldn't make up my mind which was which. So I'm going to hover that there for the moment, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my sentiment. So I'm going to cut this strip down to 3 3/4. So let's put that over there. So I know that that is exactly the right length, because it is the same width as the designer series paper. All right. Obviously that for me is too big. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the sentiment and my early espresso. So I have grabbed Season's Greetings from another stamp set. Obviously you could use whatever greetings you have, excuse me, in your stock. I'm going to stamp this down to as low on the paper as possible. There we are. And then I will cut the top part off. This is just a bit too much, so let's do it to there. So there is no precise measurement in the height. For this particular card, I've just gone for the paper to be the same width, or the length is the same width, if you see what I mean. And what I will find is I will pop that in place. So the reason I haven't put the house on is I want to see, do I prefer it with the brown or the white? White. I think the white actually gets lost. I think I'm going to go with the crumb cake. Okay, yes, I'm going to go with the crumb cake. I'm going to bring in my dimensionals, and I'm going to pop the house up on dimensionals. So I'm going to put one up here, like I have before, one on each of the corners. There we go. Take the backings off of those. There we go. Come on, you. Turn that over, and then that sits on the inside of the white circle. Okay, then again I'm going to raise up the Season's Greetings again with my dimensionals. 1, 2, 3, and we've got one more decision to make. For this is for the inside next, so let's do, pop this into place. There we go. So Season's Greetings all the way across. So we can unlock our card, and as you can see, it will sit like that on the when the receiver receives it. You can flip it over. So the question is now, I cut out a plain white house and then stamped From Our House to Yours on it, which I think I quite like actually. I wasn't sure. Because the other thing would be to cut myself out a 2-inch circle. Pop that there. And then stamp the same sentiment over the top. So let's bring in the early espresso again, and we'll stamp that on here. But I think there's something about the little house with the sentiment that I like. Okay, so there's From Our House to Yours. So it can look like it will go onto there. So as you open it up, it will say From Our House to Yours, or it will go from there and you'll open it up and it will say from our house to yours. I think I'm definitely going to go with the house. Excellent. So this I'm going to stick down with the Stampin' Seal. Okay, let's make sure this is straight. Perfect. There we go. So that is our little card with its locking mechanism. So it's got a slight funky fold to it. So there you go. So that's the one we've just completed, and this is the one I did earlier on. So I hope you like those cards. If you do have a go, let me see. Please put some photographs on my Facebook page under this posting. It would be lovely to see what you get up to. If you are on the YouTube channel, then I have attached the card supplies on the descriptions below. So just pop down there if you need the card supplies. So thank you ever so much for joining me for this week, and I look forward to catching up with you next week. Whatever you do for your weekend, have a lovely time, and I hope to catch up with you very soon. Thank you very much. Bye.